All right, welcome back everyone to the next episode in the 7 to 8 webinar series. I'm Max. I'm going to be our host and moderator for the night. I'm one of the senior directors here at 7 to 8, and with us tonight we have the amazing hair, makeup, PD, multi-hyphenate, multi-talented Delaney Gatenby. Delaney, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Max, for the warm intro.
Of course. Well, I won't continue to gab on about you. I'll let you introduce yourself. So, if you can, in just a brief minute or 2 minutes, tell us a little bit about yourself and also what your filmmaking story up until this point has been.
Okay, cool. My name is Delaney Gatenby. I went to Edinburgh and Pitt for my film production degree. And then after that, I was just sort of working, bopping around on indies, wearing as many hats as needed, as Max said. And then the IATSE union came to Pittsburgh and was hosting makeup classes. And I got into that program. And every Saturday and Sunday for like 3 months, we would meet up and kind of learn a new skill from someone who had perfected their craft. So like a lot of people came from New York City to teach us, and it was just like amazing, amazing experience. And then after that, I kind of knew that's like my niche in the film industry where it was going to be, because I knew I always wanted to like be a part of what happens on the screen, but I never felt like technically advanced to do the camera and like art knowledge to do the PD and the set design. So I was like, where am I going to fall in this cool world? And then, so that really helped me pave the way in that direction. And then after that, kept working my way, building a network of indie films. And then this past summer, had the opportunity to work as a PA on How to Rob a Bank here that's shot in Pittsburgh for Amazon, and climbed my way up. But in about a month, I was coordinating, which is a unionized role. And then just a few weeks ago, I was sworn into Local 489 union. So,
I don't think I even knew that. Congrats.
yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
That's huge. Um, cool. So you kind of gave us a lot there to chew on. So I guess to like break it down a little more, for you, you talked about finding your niche with hair and makeup. So
Mm,
in your view, what's because hair and makeup's a thing that I'm gonna imagine your average person does not even like think about when they're watching
mhm.
a film. So
Right.
what to you helps shape the character identity and emotional tone on screen that comes out through the hair, through the makeup, all that
Right.
stuff?
Yeah, you do kind of want to be unnoticed in a way. Like I feel like when I'm watching a movie and I can see what's going on in the hair and makeup, I'm like, oh, her lash is falling off. Like, oh, that person's hair is not done right. So like you want to be that unnoticed part of the production that just like helps build the character.
Sort of like
Um,
editing.
Totally. You want it to be, you don't want people to know about it almost. But I think in shaping a character, the hair and makeup says a lot about someone. You know, I was working on a little indie this past summer, and it was about like kind of like class differences between friends. And upon first read of the script, I was like, okay, this girl who comes from like, more of a middle class background, she would look maybe a little more plain and her friends more done up. And then when I was talking to the director about it, he was like, no, I actually want, the middle class girl to be like super done up. Like she's trying to fit in. She's trying to like be over the top and show her friends that like, no, she's not poor. She's with them. Like, so I was like, wait, that's actually a really good point. I maybe wouldn't have thought about that. Kind of in like the subtext of the script in general of like, oh, she is kind of a try hard. So let's make her look like one without needing to like put it in the dialogue. So there's just like lots of little subtlety hints like that where an audience can be watching a movie and pick up on those decisions that like the director and art department make.
Right. And you kind of touched on it there, I guess, like the not obvious choices that you're making, the sort of like subtle differences and stuff that really builds out a character or a story. So when you first like get the script, or if you get like a character brief, whatever materials you receive,
Mm-hmm.
what's sort of your process for translating that into like the personality and the backstory and the arc and the visual look? Does it start with
Mm-hmm.
the director? Do you come with your own ideas? Like, how does that look?
I like to do a cold read first so I can like imagine what these characters look like without any bias yet, maybe. Um, and then yeah, I like to see what the director has put together. Definitely on indies, like I would expect, or like I'm communicating with the director, whereas on big stuff, like I am not. So I would expect maybe from them like a lookbook or like photos of what they imagine. It really helps to see like the costumes of what they imagine these people to be wearing. Because that can say a lot about, how they would do themselves up. And then even past just like everyday beauty, there's films where the makeup is crazy and not realistic. So I'm kind of making mental notes that of like in these, crazier fantasy scripts of like, okay, shit, I'm gonna need fake hair, prosthetics. Like I'm making lists in my mind of what will be needed so then I can communicate with like the people about budget and be like, this is what I need, this, and this to make this happen the way you want to.
So when I'm sure that there's points when you hit, especially on the indie sets around here, you know, you need this thing, but they can't provide it, or they don't have the funding for it, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. How do you get creative with your hair and your makeup? What sort of tools do you have at your disposal, whether that's physical or just, something that you think of that's a fun workaround for something like
Right.
that?
I remember my first like injury on screen gigs was on wire. And I had just learned a trick from someone that like you could create a scab with like cayenne pepper. And so I was just like mixing glue and cayenne pepper, and people would be like, "What is Delaney doing?" Um, so there's like, yeah, there's little like cheap tricks like that. It definitely is an investment. You can definitely like start small. You can get like your main things that you need to do the work, but of course, like putting the time and energy and the money into something is gonna make, your talent look all that much better. But yeah, definitely to start, I mean, I literally just had the basics, and I still consider myself just the basics anyway. Like compared to what some like pros have in their kit, like I definitely try to work with as much as I can. And then like another thing I do sometimes is like look on Etsy for like homemade prosthetics. Like I try also to be, or at least like a little bit sustainable in this practice of like not just like searching on Amazon for something and reaching out to people I know that make prosthetics to be like, can you make this for me? And then also just doing like artist trade, like find someone who's also good at a craft and then switch what you do for free. So like, oh, you got me this time, like I'll get you next time. Like I'll make something that you need in the future. It's like really good to build like a great community of artistic people who are just like always helping each other out no matter what.
That kind of leads into another question I had for you. And I also promised earlier when I asked about like the quick fixes, I was not trying to lead you into talking about Wire because I totally forgot about that till you
I'm
brought it
always talking
up.
about Wire.
That's a nice little plug though. Yeah, Wire guys, that'll
Go
be
see Wire.
coming soon. TBD information on that. So yeah, but when you're on these sets, what strategies do you sort of use, or like what do you do? Whether it's collaborating with directors or other costume designers or makeup or PD or actors to achieve continuity and cohesion, but then also community on set and like
Yeah.
making those connections and networking and doing all the things.
Yeah. Continuity, I would definitely like pictures, pictures, pictures all the time. And then like it's nice and obviously on the iPhone, like it timestamps, You could be like, okay, I remember we shot this on January 10th, and then you can go back to whatever. And then I also learned a trick, like we talked a lot about men's grooming in these classes that I took. So like beard and facial hair and whatnot. And they said one of the tricks there is because like if you're working with Christian Bale and he needs to have a scruff for 6 months straight, like you're gonna need to like be able to recreate that every day. And someone said like if you held like a piece of paper up to like someone's scruff and marked the line of like, okay, where it hit on this day. And then when you come back a week later, you can shave it right back down to like that line before. There's just like all these little things of like how to keep track of what you had just done. But to be honest, most of it is pictures. Um, so you really need to be like paying attention to your own work. And then community on set is just like don't be it can be like so nerve-wracking being on a big set. Um, but don't be afraid to just throw your name around. Be like, oh hey, I'm so and so. What's your name? Like I see you walking around. You're always wearing a cool outfit. Throw in a compliment. People will tell you their name. Like you'll get going. Like I just ran into someone this summer, or I just ran into someone a few days ago that I was working with this summer, but I'd never introduced myself to because she was like a cool costume girl, and I was intimidated by her cool fits. And then I was like, oh, just so you know, by the way, we worked together this summer. Like, I've been wanting to meet you. And then we had a nice conversation. So you just like, you really have to like be not afraid to put yourself out there. And of course, like, stay humble. Like, you don't need to be knowing everyone, but like, assess the people around you and the people you need to know and stay in their good graces. Like, you want to be someone who's fun to work with. Like don't bring the energy down. Of course, there's times where like you need to be serious, you need to hunker down, but like you're there for like 12 hours a day. Like somebody's got to be the light in the room. So like come in and like spark a room up and people want to keep working with you.
Yeah, people talk about that all the time. Like, you're working with, especially if it's a TV show, like 6 months or more,
Yeah.
12-hour days, 5 days a week sort of thing. So like, yeah, you want to be someone that people enjoy being around
Yeah.
on set.
Yeah.
So how does that vibe sort of change from like the smaller sets to the bigger sets? Like you mentioned How to Rob a Bank this summer, and then you
Hmm.
mentioned working on a number of indie
Hmm.
films like Wire, 7 Day Productions coming soon. But
Coming
uh
soon.
how do those vibes differ and how do you kind of handle, your responsibilities in those different environments?
Right. I feel like I know enough people now and I feel confident enough in like the indie world of Pittsburgh that I can walk around and be like, I know you and you, let's crack some jokes, let's have some fun. And then you need to kind of like not check yourself at the door, but like kind of have that air of politeness and like you aren't gonna overstep your bounds of like this big movie set of like, the people who I was interacting with all the time. Of course, I was introducing myself to them. We would tell stories, crack jokes, whatever. But then like the people in the room that are supposed to be the intimidating ones. You know what I mean? So just stay professional. Like for example, I I think it's good I guess good manners I was like picking up on the big set was like to not you're on a big movie set, you're supposed to be working on that movie. Some people would come in and start talking about like the indie movies they're working on and this and this that they need to do. I'm like, homie, we're getting paid to work for this production right now, but like after hours, let's chit chat about your indie because like I want to know about it. So it's just like little stuff that you pick up on. um but yeah, like your department on a big set, like you just like become a little family. And so like that was really, really awesome. But then it feels so weird because like the movie just ends. And then of course I have like lifelong friends now. Like my best friend there was a 65-year-old woman and like we still chit chat to this day. Um, but on an indie, like that's family. That's family. You'll like shoot an indie for 4 days straight and you'd be like, that's my sister. Like, I don't know, you just get so close on a film set. Um, and you can talk, obviously, indie film sets are, what, 10 to 30 people. Like you talk to everyone and everyone. But definitely like big sets, there's hundreds of people you'll never even meet. Like just you won't even run into them. The only difference is like the sheer amount of people that have come together to make a project happen.
Yeah, and I know people talk about, and I've talked about all the time, the sort of um like trauma bonding experiences, I guess for lack of a better term, that happen on
Totally.
those indie sets, right?
Yeah.
And it's much easier, especially when they're your classmates or they're people you're kind of seeing around campus every day, right?
Yeah.
Like especially when you're still in school and you're doing these sorts of things. When you get out of school, though, it's much tougher to do that. And then you get on these indie sets where I know that was the professional one, but like you said, the age ranges of people differ so
Yeah.
much. You don't cross
Totally.
paths with them. So how important in your view is it to like establish those relationships and like chit chat about like the other projects you're working on after work and like meet up
Yeah.
on weekends and do that sort of stuff?
Yeah. It's you hear it all the time, but like filmmaking is like a networking job. Like, unfortunately, I wish everyone could get by on their merit and their talent, but like if you are fun to work with and good at your job and can connect with people easily, like you're gonna get more jobs. So like you need to build up some personality and also at the same time maybe build up like some tougher skin. Like I'm definitely someone who I think I respond well to criticism, but I respond different when it's face to face. Like I have a harder time with that. And there was a few times this summer where I was like, oh my God, like I fucked up. Like I things were coming in. I worked in the set decoration department. And it was kind of my responsibility to make sure the things that we were purchasing were like getting in on time. Cause like we would shoot this giant set and be like, okay, it needs to be ready for Monday. And then something I would space out about ordering something and be like, it won't be here for Monday. I'm fucked. I'm fucked. And then I would go to my, department head and be like, I'm so sorry. Like I messed up. So you just have to be like willing to like take the fall for those mistakes and then be able to like get back up and keep going after you get, you know, told that, be better. But it's like it's character building, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I haven't done anything quite to the extent that you have so far, but I did PA. I got the opportunity to PA on Hershey this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And that first day before lunch, I didn't do that much. I felt like in high school again, like very just like anxious, nervous. I'm gonna like mess up,
Mm-hmm.
irritate someone or whatever. But I think to your point, it's all just about like playing it cool, being casual, and then being open to like the mistakes that you've made and
Yeah.
helping to fix those and
And
all
you'll
that
definitely
stuff.
gauge like the people who are there for a job, totally respect it, and the people who are there for the love of the craft. And then you get those people together who love the craft, and then you plan your own indie with them. Like there are people, like a PA from another department, we were always talking movies, and I'm like, okay, perfect. Like he's someone I can always think to reach out to, like if I'm doing my own project. She's kind of build this like you got your network of everyone you work with, and then you've got like your other network of like people I want to create things with. So it's like always exciting.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, Burden of Proof is like the next short 7 to 8's putting out. And, a few of the people that were on that crew, some of the lighting team, some of the sound team were guys that, Nate or Zane or I met on set this summer. And that was
Right.
like huge. And they ended up being some of the best people we've worked with so
Yeah.
far. So that
I've
was, that
seen the
was
stills
awesome.
from the
Yeah, yeah.
OP. I am
Oh
so
yeah.
excited to see.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Coming soon. That's another one coming soon, guys. All the
Mhm.
plugs in this webinar. All right. So we had started opening up the Q&A to the chat. So we got our first question from the YouTube live chat. First one is if someone wants to break into film, hair, and makeup, but doesn't have access to big studio sets, where should they start and how can they gain practical experience?
I would start definitely like don't be expecting, I guess, like make much money at first. But like be willing to do things for free, like make this your side hustle. Look for like walk around the cathedral. Like there's gonna be posters of like, little film shoots. Like there's gonna be like anything that says audition, grab one, because that means they're making something and that they have people who need dressed up. Um, I would do like look around for local theater productions because like that's a really fun side of hair and makeup. Um, I would practice on yourself all the time and like post post photos if you want to. I would also practice on like a friend. Like I found that I'm very confident when it comes to like doing my own makeup. Like I can make I can make it work because I know my face so well. But it's really difficult sometimes to like translate that onto another face that you have to like you can't like I want to do someone's makeup like I want them to be laying down on the floor and I want to be like on top of them like for the right angle. But like that's not reality. Like you're gonna need to know how to do someone's makeup standing right in front of them up on like there's just so many tiny little details you can get really good at or even just like packing and unpacking your kit. They expect you to be fast in the film industry doing makeup. So if you can get fast and good, like you will be hired all the time. So like practice removing everything out of your kit, doing a look in 30 minutes, putting it all back, and then like being done in 40 minutes. And then you like go impress someone and they'll want you on.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And when you had mentioned, um, doing hair and makeup on yourself or on your friends, that reminded me of some of the early posts you put up on your hair and makeup Instagram. So this
Mm-hmm.
this is a question from me. Didn't write this down. This isn't from the chat, but um, how important do you think it is, or at least like encouraging and like, gets you some momentum and some excitement behind what you're doing to post your work, like do the work that you do on sets or on your own? Or is it not like the most important thing for a hair and makeup artist?
I think now it has become important to have like social media um to stay, I don't know, I don't want to say like relevant, but like to understand what's going on in makeup especially. Um but it is, I will admit it's hard to stay motivated and on top of posting because at first I think when I finished those classes I was like gung ho. I was like, I'm making a website, I'm making business cards, I'm making Instagram, and I posted all this stuff, and then I was like, okay, what do I do now? And it has helped me like reach out to some people, and I was working like a lot of my other side gigs that aren't movies are just like photo shoots, like boudoir headshots. Like I'm just doing like a lot of women's faces. Um, and so it's definitely helped me build like that little community of like knowing photographers. Um, but yeah, I definitely feel like in my own space I could grow in just like having more fun with it. Like once a week, challenge myself to do something fun on me or a friend and then post it. And then there is something I think I can finally post now, a look I'm very proud of from a movie that we just premiered like a week ago. So I think I can post that now.
Dope. We will
Yeah.
keep an eye out for that. That's which tag is that account again? That's
It's so long. I should have changed it a long time
like
ago,
your
but
full
it's
name,
Delaney
MUA.
Gatenby MUA.
Okay, got it.
I
We
should have
will
just gone
plug
like
that.
DG MUA, but like
Nah, nah, nah. It's good.
hindsight
We'll
is
plug
2020.
that in the YouTube description and then replug it on the Instagram and stuff. But you had mentioned there about like picking up some other gigs, like doing, makeup for more commercial work and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you're obviously getting more consistent paid work on some of these bigger sets and also still doing indie stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long has it taken you to establish yourself to the point where you're not just having to do side gigs to get by, you're able to
Mm-hmm.
like get onto these bigger sets? And what sort of things have you seen as you've been on that journey? What other people have shared similar trajectories to you and have
Right.
maybe gone off in their own directions, that sort of thing?
Yeah. It was interesting going on to the set this summer, the big one, because we were just coming off of the strike. So all these people were like so excited to be on set because they had been unemployed, not unemployed necessarily, but like they had not worked on a movie set in 2 years. So everyone was so excited. But like with that came the reality of filmmaking, which is it's not a stable job. And so everyone would tell me, like, I made like the most money I ever have like this summer. It was awesome. And then they were like, but hey, save all that money because when this movie ends, you're going to be unemployed. And I was like, so true. So, yeah, the reality is sometimes that like um you need to have like a second thing. Like my second thing is like working in coffee. Like I'm a barista. And like that's like the stable part of my life. But my boss is aware that at any moment I could get a text or a call about blankety blank popping up, and she is very willing to work with me. And I'm like, BRB gotta quit. I'm gonna be gone for another 6 months. So it's like being aware that like the work is gonna come and go, but when it's here, it's awesome. um, but yeah, it's nice that like especially like in your own side gig business, like you make the prices. So, and that's like a good thing and a bad thing because when you work with your friends, of course it's hard to like charge your friends. But all my friends are very respectful of like the work and time it takes. So I've never had an issue with that, but when you start out, you charge what you feel like you're worth. And as you get better, you start to charge more and you can like eventually build, something more stable off of that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of great advice, and it seems to kind of track to what some of the other journeys that we've heard about
Mhm.
are. So I think that's great for people to hear. We have another chat question, which is what's one misconception about working in film, hair, and makeup that you wish more people understood?
I think a lot of the time it's like looked at superfluously. And of course, like if you have like the budget or the people to give you hair and makeup on a film, like that's a privilege and that's like a cool add-on. Um, but sometimes I feel like we get our eyes rolled at a little bit of like, oh, it's like the vanities, it's the glam squad, it's the whatever. But like makeup artists, especially, and like not even me, people who are like far, far above me and so knowledgeable and talented, like they're like chemists. Like they know like every chemical of every makeup. They know about like silicone and latex and vinyl, and like they're spraying things and they're like working with dangerous things. And then to be called like glam squad vanities is like a little, I don't know, not
A little
disrespectful, a little
demeaning.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little demeaning. But there are people I know, yeah, with just like unending knowledge about prosthetics and, all the technical things that go into, the fantasy makeup. And it's like so much more than just like foundation, contour, blush. Like it's the kit is huge. Like I carry around a giant kit, and people carry around so much like bigger kits than I do. It's not just like a little makeup bag and a curling wand, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think most people probably hear hair and makeup and they think like, someone getting their hair or their makeup done like at a salon or
Mm-hmm.
something. And obviously that's like a big part, like the subtle touches that go onto an
Mm-hmm.
actress's look. But obviously Pittsburgh has like a long, deep history with horror in the area, the
Mm-hmm.
George Romero stuff, Tom Savini, who has like his own school down in Monessen. Have you kind of come into contact with any people who've learned from him and that you've got to learn from, or any connections
Totally.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've known a few people who graduated. They are all incredible. I've learned a lot from them as well. But I totally think if like you're doing this on a budget and you want to learn how to do it, there's like an unending amount of ways to learn. That's not necessarily like a professional education. Um, because you don't need a degree or a license to work in film. And that's just the reality. Like I have some certifications and I have a film degree and I have like the makeup class background, but like I'm not a licensed professional cosmetologist. Um, and I didn't go to like university for makeup, and I'm doing just fine. So you don't really have to be like dropping, a life savings on an education that we have the internet. You can learn anything.
Yeah, it's easier than ever to sort of like make your own in with all the
Yeah,
resources available.
totally.
So another question we have from chat is for people who are coming up as makeup and hair professionals within the indie community. What does building a sustainable career look like? And then what skills or mindsets matter most? I think we've already kind of touched on this, but
Mhm.
if you have anything else.
Skills and mindsets, humility, kindness, timeliness, like your time management needs to be like on top. Um, and then yeah, it's all about the people you know. You have to build friendships and community. And sometimes there's gonna be people you don't even like. Just say hi, move on. Like there's no reason to be digging up, you know, drama and gossip and talking shit. Like these are all like when you know the Pittsburgh bubble, like it felt so vast to me at first of like where do I even start? Like where do I even begin? And then it feels like I have like a solid grip on kind of who everyone is now. Like you see a picture of someone you worked with once and you're like, okay, who are those three people? Okay, I'm gonna meet them. And then like you just like you branch off and you find that network. It doesn't even need to be like friendships, bonds for life. Like you'll find those along the way. They don't need to be every single person you meet, but like still stay in everyone's good graces. Don't mess in the mud.
I think that's pretty sound advice. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I think a lot of people forget that like, the film business is still a business. It's still like you're still going to work
Yeah,
every day. Like it's like, yeah, we're kind of playing make believe, but like also it's like you're stuck with people for like sometimes worse hours than like a normal 9 to 5 and in
yeah,
work conditions, right? So, you kind of have to navigate that the same way you would navigate any other sort of workplace environment.
totally. It's
So
really fun. Film is like the most fun job ever, but like it's also hard. It's long hours, it's hard work. Like you need to stay professional and it can't all be laughs and jokes and good times. Like you need to bunker down and do your job sometimes.
yeah. For sure. We're gonna take one last chat question here. This is a good one. What's your dream film to work on? I'm gonna like twist that a little bit. What would
Mhm.
be your dream? I'll make it two parts, right?
Okay,
What would
okay.
be the dream production to work on that has come through Pittsburgh that you didn't get a chance to work on, either because you were
Mhm.
like too young or because not alive or
Mhm.
that you just didn't have time for? And then what would be like if you could pick any future production to come to Pittsburgh and then work on that film, what would it be?
I think one that came through Pittsburgh, I mean, you gotta say Silence of the Lambs. Like to be in like the Veterans Building when they were when they shot that, I just feel like it would be such a crazy feeling to be like a part of movie history. Um, and obviously like such a gross, weird, horrific movie that would be kind of interesting to work on. Um, dream one for the future. I've always said I would love to work on a Jordan Peele movie just because I hear he's so intelligent. Like, and I just love his movies. He makes such smart decisions. I love movies with like the little, treasure treats along the way where you're like, wait, he was really thinking. He really cooked on that one. Um, recently, what have I seen that's good recently? Yeah, I would love to work on like a real big, legit horror movie. Like, I would be so fascinated to see what the energy on set is like gearing up to do something, I don't know, so serious and scary. Because I know, like, behind the scenes, like, we're having fun, like, we're goofing, but then, like, when they say action, are we all like, someone has to, like, scream and cry and, do the craziest thing. So I just would be so interested to see what that's like on set. Um, but yeah, I would love to work on like a cool thriller or like if Mindhunter season 3 ever happens,
Please, I hope that's
that would
like,
be amazing to work with David Fincher. Like
yeah.
that's a dream. So anything like that, kind of thrillery, spooky.
I think those are pretty good answers. I didn't even think about the Jordan Peele movie, but I think that's a great answer too.
Mm,
We could totally, with all the knowledge we learned in last month's webinar with Jenny about the tax incentives, maybe convince the next Jordan Peele Monkey Paw production to come here. So,
exactly.
all right. Well, Delaney, I think we're about to wrap it up here. So I just wanted to thank you again for joining us tonight. This
Of
was
course,
super
it's so fun.
great, super informative. And for our listeners, thanks again for joining this month. Hoping to see you guys next month. And